everyone, Carlisa here, and today I wanted to do a video about things I wish I had definitely known before joining the military. If you've been listening to my channel, you guys already know I originally joined the Army Reserve, and after serving in the Army Reserve for 9 years, I switched over to the Air Force and am currently in the Air National Guard now. And of course, there are a whole list of things that I wish I had known before joining the military. And we're going to talk about a few of those things today. And if you're interested in going into the military, please make sure you like and subscribe. I'm going to be sure to put up a video probably every Wednesday, sometimes more, but at least every Wednesday. So make sure you like and subscribe. And I'm here to give you guys as much information as possible. I've been in for 17 years, and I'm just hoping to pass some information along that I've picked up along my military journey. The number one thing that I wish I had known before joining the military is that there are branches other than the Army, okay? And this might seem obvious to you all, but the Army is the largest branch. And so if you know someone in the military, usually it's that they're in the Army, right? And if you watch a movie that portrays a military branch, usually the Army is the branch that's portrayed in the movie. And so I made the mistake of just going straight Army. I made a beeline to that Army recruiter's office, and I really wish that I had conducted research into the other branches before just going Army. And here's what I was thinking. I just thought, well, the Air Force is about flying planes. I don't want to be a pilot, so why go Air Force? And then I thought, I don't want to be stuck at sea, on a submarine or something like that, so I'm not going to go Navy. And then I really didn't even consider the Marine Corps or the Coast Guard at all. And so what you should do, and what I wish I had definitely done, is sit down, research every single branch. Start with looking at the websites. Go to airforce.com, go to army.com, visit the websites of every single branch, and also make sure you understand the mission of every single branch. The Air Force, for instance, conducts air and space operations. That's very different from the Army's mission. The Army's mission is to conduct long-term ground forces operations. And think about how these different missions change the mindset, the culture, the training involved. And so, again, make sure you research every single branch. And if you know someone that's already serving, make sure you talk to them about their experience. Find a soldier and chat him up. Find a sailor and chat her up. Find an airman and chat him or her up. Just get as much information as possible. It is true what they say, knowledge is power. As cliche as it sounds, it is 100% true, and it's one of the things that I definitely wish I had done. And ultimately, I did make my way from the Army to the Air Force, and I'm happy in the Air Force. I'm loving it. I've been in since 2012. In any event, I want you to land in the branch that's right for you. And you're not going to do that if you just run to the Army without researching the other opportunities available. And with that said, the Army might be for you. It is right up a lot of people's alley. But just make sure that you are researching the other branches and that you're making an informed decision. And I think that this is important in all aspects of life, to make informed decisions, okay? So that's probably the number one thing that I wish I had done. Now, the second thing is make sure you are asking your recruiter. If you're going to enlist, you're going to deal with a recruiter, and so make sure that you are asking your recruiter any and every question you have, okay? Do not let anyone make you feel like you're stupid for asking a particular question. The military is a foreign concept to most people, and there's nothing wrong with that. So if you have a question, make sure you ask, okay? And don't worry about upsetting your recruiter. This is going to be your career, not your recruiter's career, so you need to take care of you, all right? One of the philosophies I've adopted in my life is if they aren't writing your paycheck and they aren't paying your bills, pay them no mind, okay? So do not be afraid of what the recruiter's going to think or anyone else. If you have a question, you need to ask it because, again, it's going to be your career and you need to make sure you feel comfortable because it's going to be your name on that dotted line, and it is an 8-year commitment, and 8 years is a heck of a long time. So if you have a question, ask it and make sure you get an answer. And here's my next thing. Make sure you are verifying and confirming all of the information that the recruiter tells you. Now, I wish I could say that all recruiters are honest, but what I will say instead is trust but verify, okay? And that's another one of my life philosophies, trust but verify. So it's easy these days to verify because we have, Google search engines, we have the Bing search engine, and hopefully you do know some people who have served. And if you're talking to people who have served, make sure you're talking to people who have been in for a few years. That way they've built up institutional knowledge, okay? And so that's another extremely important thing that I wish I had known before I signed on that dotted line, okay? And another thing is once you're in the military, make sure you are keeping track of your chronological statement of retirement points. And this is more important for those of you going Guard or Reserve. Okay, so let me explain it just for a moment. In the Guard or Reserve, you have to have 20 creditable service years in order to retire. And a creditable year is a good year. Okay, so this is a year during which you were attending all of your drills or battle assemblies or unit assemblies if you're in the Air Force. The Army says battle assembly, the Air Force says unit assembly. Anyways, it's your drill weekend. Make sure you are attending those and make sure you're doing your 2 weeks of annual training, because that's what's going to give you a creditable year. A lot of people think you just need to be in for 20 years, and that is not the case. It has to be 20 creditable years. And here's what happened to me. Story time, okay? A quick story. So I wasn't really keeping track of my chronological statement of retirement points while I was in the Army because I decided that I was not going to put in 20 years, right? So I was thinking, well, I don't need to keep track of this record because I'm going to, be getting out before I hit my 20, so it doesn't matter. Well, I changed my mind and decided instead of getting out altogether that I would actually switch branches and give the Air Force a go. And I've been in for 17 years. Well, the Army had messed up my chronological statement of retirement points, and I hadn't been paying attention to it, so I didn't realize this when it happened. And so it took me a very long time working with the Army to get my chronological statement of retirement points back together again as it should have been. And this definitely affects your career because, again, you have to have 20 creditable service years with the Guard and the Reserve in order to qualify for retirement. So another important thing, and the moral of that story, don't assume anything. Don't assume that the powers that be are taking care of you. You have to take care of you. And don't assume that certain information isn't important, because you might find yourself, as I did, deciding to put in that full 20 instead of popping smoke after 8 or 9 years. So that's another important step that you need to take and to take care of you, all right? And another thing is, if you are ever injured at any point, make sure you see a doc. Don't try to be a hero. Make sure you tell them exactly what happened. I have met people who were injured while they were taking the physical fitness test, for instance, or while they were on a road march, and they thought, I don't want to look like, I'm easily injured or whatnot, so I'm going to say X happened when really Y happened. And then guess what happens? When they get out of the military, and that injury that occurred during the military blows up, it's difficult for them to get disability benefits for it because the record says something else happened because they were trying to be a hero. Don't try to be a hero, okay? Don't try to impress people. These people aren't going to be pushing your wheelchair, okay? Keep that in mind. If something happens, go to the doc, get that something on record, and make sure you're explaining exactly what happened in detail, and make sure you keep that record, because if you get out of the military and that injury flares up or that injury leads to another injury, you're going to want to apply to the VA for a service-connected disability, because that opens the door for service-connected disability benefits. And I have just seen too many people denied VA disability benefits because they didn't keep a proper record of the injury, or they fibbed a little to the physician and said it was related to something else when it was in fact related to their military duty. Please, 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 please keep medical records anytime something happens. And that's just a general rule of thumb, is to make sure you keep a record of any and everything that happens to you during your military service, because these records be coming up missing, okay? So you have to make sure you have the records. And what I would advise is when you join the military, open up a file. If you have a filing cabinet, or if you want to scan documents and throw them in, a folder on your laptop or your iPad that just says, military career, put everything in there. If you have everything in one spot, you're going to know where everything related to the military is located. And trust me when I tell you, you are going to need these documents at one point, either during your career or once you've retired from the military. But the military has a tendency to lose documents, and it's very, very important that you maintain copies of medical records, orders, travel vouchers, etc. Okay? And another reason why it's important to keep these documents, specifically orders, travel vouchers, etc., is because you want to know where you were during your career. It was not that long ago when we realized Marines stationed at Camp Lejeune in the 80s were exposed to contaminated water, and they have been known to develop medical issues because of their exposure to this contamination. So some of them do not have records showing that they were at Camp Lejeune, so it makes it more difficult for them to apply for the VA disability benefits. Make sure you're keeping everything, medical records, orders, travel vouchers. Make sure you're staying on top of that chronological statement of retirement points. And you can get this, by the way, from the Air Force portal, or you can get it from Army Knowledge Online if you happen to be in the Army. I'm not sure what it's called in the other branches, but make sure you do your research on that and find out where you can get the statement, because you need to be checking that at least every single year. And so that's a whole lot of information I just put out there. It's incredibly, incredibly important. If you have any questions about anything I've said here today, please make sure you drop a comment below. Again, there are things that I wish I had known, and I'm here to give you guys the info I wish I had known, because I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes that I made earlier on in my career. And I want you guys to have a great, illustrious career, and even at the end of your career, I want you to look back and think, okay, I did the right things, I kept my ducks in a row, I crossed my T's, I dotted my I's. This stuff is so incredibly important, and it's stuff you don't even think about until sometimes it's too late. So you're already on the right track, actually, by watching videos on YouTube about what you should do. And again, if you want to hear more information about the military, please like and subscribe. I love talking to you guys, love hearing from you guys, so that's about all I have today, and I will see you guys next time.